Hello everyone, my name is Cole Fiker and this is All In. It's been 42 years since Ridley Scott unleashed the haunting and pulse-pounding Alien to moviegoers all over the world, spawning a massive franchise with 3 sequels, 2 prequels, comic books, novels, and of course video games. Everyone is just obsessed with aliens. Today, in honor of the release of Alien Fireteam Elite, we're going to be taking a deep dive into the history of the Alien games franchise. In 1982, much in part of the success of the film of the same name in 1979, Alien was released on the Atari 2600. This was published and developed by Fox Video Games in the form of a Pac-Man-style maze game in which the player controls a human who must collect eggs while avoiding the xenomorphs. In my opinion, you should probably avoid the eggs too, but... After this game was released, the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum decided to hop on the train as well in 1984, forming their own version of the game in a hybrid strategy-adventure menu-driven story. The game was released to mixed reviews, with some saying it was a fun time and could keep you entertained for weeks, and others saying there was very little action and a poor representation of the film. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be the last time the Alien games would receive mixed reviews, as we will get to in just a moment. In 1986, after the release of Aliens, Activision and Mr. Micro developed Aliens the computer game, which was released on the Commodore 64 to, you guessed it, mixed reviews. It focused around 6 minigames strung together via interactive sequences, much like its predecessor. The minigames consisted of piloting a ship from Sulaco to the planet's surface, recognizing equipment, and fighting aliens. As years went on, the franchise would see games pop up on the MSX, Amstrad CPC, Amiga, Atari ST, and even the Nintendo Entertainment System with Predator. I thought this was an Alien script! Predator was released in 1987, and yes, it is one of the first instances of crossover we see from the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise. Even though we don't actually see the eponymous aliens in this title, it is still considered one of the first hints at the Aliens vs. Predator franchise we know today. After Predator's release, we head into the 1990s with the release of Aliens in arcades. This shoot-'em-up style of gameplay really soared in the video game markets, with Japan listing the arcade cabinet as the second most successful table arcade unit of the year in 1990. You could play as either Ellen Ripley or Corporal Hicks, giving you a solid connection to the 1986 film of the same name. You could even play in co-op with a friend to take down the xenomorphs. We would see the games progress and evolve with the times with the release of Alien 3 on the SNES in 1992, taking on the form of games like Castlevania, Metroid, Metal Slug, and more. We would be forced to travel through the Fiorina 161 prison colony as Ripley, as she appears in the movie, and run and gun taking down all types of enemies. This title actually won awards for Best Movie Game for the Sega Genesis version in '93, and the Best Action Adventure Game for the SNES version in '94. With most of the important movie tie-ins out of the way, let's jump forward to the 2010s with the release of Aliens vs. Predator in 2010 on the PS3 and Xbox 360. Developed by Rebellion Developments, which also developed games for the Atari Jaguar and PC, Aliens vs. Predator is a first-person shooter that was made to be a reboot rather than a sequel to previous AVP titles. There are 3 campaigns: Colonial Marines, we'll get to that soon, Aliens, or Predators. Yes, this meant you could play as the alien or the Predator, adding a new layer of suspense and action to each story you played. Unfortunately, critics and gamers alike felt the game was a little too thin and hollow, with the game receiving mostly average reviews. This response would carry over into Aliens Colonial Marines, which certainly is a game that exists. Released in 2013 by Gearbox Software, yes, that Gearbox Software, the game was heavily inspired by James Cameron's Aliens, following a group of Colonial Marines as they try to rescue survivors from the Sulaco spaceship. The 6+ years of development and very rocky development cycle definitely showed in the final product. The game was buggy to say the least, with the AI being unresponsive, the controls janky, and even led to a lawsuit saying that the game was falsely advertised. That suit was dropped though in 2015, solidifying Colonial Marines in history as what not to do with Alien games. Although in 2017, a modder simply changed an error in the game's code and the AI were instantly better. No one thought that there would be an Alien game that would actually live up to the fear and critical success the film franchise had. However, that was until 2014 with the release of Alien Isolation. Developed by Creative Assembly and published by Sega, Isolation takes place 15 years after the events of the original Alien film, where you play as Amanda, Ellen Ripley's daughter. You search for clues and unlock the mystery behind the disappearance of your mother while being chased by xenomorphs and synthetics, with only a motion tracker and your wits to survive. That's right, you really can't fight back in this game. The non-combative nature of the gameplay made Isolation stand out from the rest, maintaining that atmosphere that the movies did so well at creating. Of course, you could always get a flamethrower and ward off the xenomorphs, but honestly, do you want to risk being out in the open longer than you need to? Me personally, I like to hide in lockers and hope that everything just leaves me alone. Jumping forward to 2021, we are now back in full form with Alien Fireteam Elite. This game is what you'd get when you cross Left 4 Dead with aliens. You play as one of 3 Colonial Marines on the USS Endeavour, a spaceship tasked with responding to a distress call from outer colonies. You can choose from 5 different classes: Gunner, Demolisher, Technician, Doc, or Recon, which means that you and your friends can mix and match every campaign to make the experience different. Speaking of campaigns, there are 4 to choose from with 3 missions each. If you prefer to take on the campaign solo, you can play with 2 AI-controlled allies to help you through the story. To enhance the Left 4 Dead-esque gameplay style, there are 20 different enemies. Yes, 20 to take down and defend yourself against, including xenomorphs, spitters, bursters, jumpers, no thank you, and warriors. The developers Cold Iron Studios have also confirmed that there are face huggers and synthetics to battle too, so there's plenty of aliens to face off against. With Alien Fireteam Elite releasing soon on current and past-gen consoles, I'm interested to see how the gameplay turns out with the tried-and-true formula. I'm very excited to play this game with my friends group, as I know there'll be plenty of screaming. Looking at you, Kiba. Although you know what they say, in space, no one can hear you scream. Aliens Fireteam Elite releases on August 24th for the Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation 5. What's your fondest memory from the Aliens franchise? Do you have a favorite Aliens game that I didn't talk about today? You can let me know on Twitter and Instagram at Lord Azria, or on the GameStop YouTube channel under All In. You can also catch me streaming retro games on Twitch at twitch.tv/the_retrocade. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Cole Fiker, and this has been All In. I'll see you next time.